Those that he called a dot in the circle seem otherwise. Those that he said will treat in the language they understand seem otherwise. That led to the ban of Twitter in this country, because people had to report that tweet and it was deleted, and they felt, oh, how would they delete the tweet of a president? Those that were caught in the web of Decree 4 seem otherwise.
All right, guys, once again, I want to welcome you back to Trendy Niger. And we are still mourning the passing of the late president, talking about late President Muhammadu Buhari, and all the burial rite has been done and dusted. But I want to record how an Arise TV journalist talking about Rufai Oseni mourned the president. So what he said about the president, and this particular statement from Rufai Oseni is still trending and is still generating a lot of concern and all that. So some people have described him as somebody who is a straightforward person that can say it the way it is. And I believe if you're a leader, but it's not everybody that will support you and all that. But when we are talking of the dead, there is some kind of things you see. But we also have a statement from Reuben Abati. This is a kind of disagreement between them, that is Rufai Oseni and Reuben Abati. We need to be careful anyway for what we put out to the public and all that. We need to be careful about the sentiment we are bringing out. All right, guys, I believe that this is a very interesting video, and I believe we should watch this video. Let's see what Rufai Oseni said concerning the late Muhammadu Buhari.
The death of every man diminishes all of us. Buhari and President Muhammadu Buhari has run his race. And life is dynamic, because as long as you live, you are many things to many people. Some see him as a hero, but some see him otherwise. Those that he called a dot in the circle see him otherwise. Those that he said will treat in the language they understand see him otherwise. That led to the ban of Twitter in this country, because people had to report that tweet and it was deleted, and they felt, oh, how would they delete the tweet of a president? Those that were caught in the web of Decree 4 see him otherwise. Omar Diko see him otherwise. The likes of the politicians that were incarcerated after the 83 elections, about 84 when he got in, don't see him as a hero. But some will see him as a disciplined man, anti-corruption hero. But people will also talk about that legacy and say, but people around him were corrupt. So they talk about being above board like Caesar's wife, but people around you are being tried for corruption, also speaks volume. People he incarcerated for political vendetta. People he tried to terminate their lives. The judges in the dead of the night that were harassed, that everybody said, this is an assault on our judiciary, seem otherwise. But those that were close to him say, he's a father. They'd even stretch it and say, the father of the nation. Those that believed in him prior to 2015 felt once he got that mandate, he was going to set Nigeria right. But what heralded is 8 years. deepening of division, pain, lack of economic gusto and verve, lack of that economic fecundity, and even this current government blames him for the problems they are in now. So with great power comes great responsibility. But do leaders that seek power understand the responsibility, or they just want to be president? Those that see him as a hero will say at least he allowed for fairness in the electoral process. But that argument is also quickly punctured by the fact that he didn't sign the electoral reforms leading up to the 2019 elections where he was going to participate in. But they will also say, at least under him, oppositions could win governorship election. In fact, some governor in the opposition went to thank him. Some will say things like, oh, the electricity bill. Some will also say he did infrastructure, at least if not because of him. We'll not have railway, we'll not have the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, I will not have other infrastructure like that. That he did more thread of roads than anybody. But while we also talk about the rail line, some will also argue, where was there a need for the Kanu-Maradi line? President Buhari, when he ascended the throne in 2015, made the famous words that I am for everybody and for nobody. But some said he was actually for some people. He quoted Shakespeare saying there's a tide in the affairs of man. And we thought he had set the tone for the country he wanted to build. But today, like two sides of a coin, there are two sides to history of President Buhari. There will be those that will say, Veni, vidi, vici.
Okay. So?
But there will be those that will say, President Buhari, you caused pain, hurt, division, unfairness, and unkindness. Whatever part you take this morning, please remember something. We will all die. And what will be said after we're gone?
Okay. It was Chilon of Pata in the 17th century, a 7th century philosopher, who said, do not speak ill of the dead. Also in Antigone by Sophocles, written in 431 BC, Antigone, the major lesson from Antigone is that, look, the dead must be honored. And then there is an Italian saying, do mortuos nili nisi bonum. It also means essentially the same thing. So I begin with that theoretical concept. And also in Africa, people say, do not speak ill of the dead. When a man dies, it is assumed that all the sins of the dead are forgiven. However, while I quote that theoretical background, I have written editorials on Hastings Banda of Malawi, Idi Amin of Uganda, in the course of this career. Sani Abacha, where we said it as it is, because we had no other option. But I think in the case of President Muhammadu Buhari, who died yesterday, 1942, 17 December 1942 to 13 July 2025, it can be said that his legacy is of a mixed character. There are those who love him deeply. There are those who hate him as equally as possible. I think his career can be divided into three parts as follows. First, his military career. He was one of those young men, 70 of them, who joined the Nigerian Military Training Company in 1962, I think. He was 19 at the time. And then, of course, it was from there that he was part of the team that was sent to Mons Adeshot in England to be trained as officers. And then he returned as a second lieutenant. It was maybe 2021 at that time. And then, you know, he became part of the Nigerian military. Now, key highlights of his career. During the counter coup of 1966, July counter coup, he was one of the officers who took part in that coup, removing Agunyi Nrusi from power. There are some people who will never forgive him for that. Now, when the Civil War began in 1967, he was in the 1st Division under the command of General Muhammad Shua, one of the finest officers ever to come from the northern part of Nigeria. From the 1st Division, he will later play a big role in the 2nd Division of the same military. And he was part of that team, the Civil War heroes who, well, kept Nigeria safe, kept Nigeria as one, as General Yakubu Gowon will always say. That to go on with one Nigeria, you know, is the mission. Now, of course, after the Civil War, he was one of those officers who benefited greatly. In 1975, right, he was one of those officers who ended the Gowon administration. He was part of that coup too. And of course, he was rewarded. He has served this country as Federal Commissioner of Works. He has also served as Federal Commissioner in terms of petroleum resources. He has been, in the course of his military career, governor in Borno State. He has also, in the course of that career, been GOC in several brigades. So he distinguished himself as a soldier. In 1983, he was again part of the coup that removed the sitting civilian government of President Shehu Shagari. And he was head of state of Nigeria between 1983 and 1985. So in assessing his legacy, you could look at that face. As head of state, many will remember him for war against indiscipline, but they will also remember him for Decree 2, for Decree 4, his repression of the media. They will remember him for the 59 suitcases that nobody has been able to explain till today. They will remember him for many of the other things that happened within that environment with regard to, was it a 2.8 billion, you know, missing petroleum fund that the likes of a public intellectual and academic, Professor Ayodele Awojobi, you know, focused upon at that time. Now, I'll summarize that first phase. The second phase, of course, you could say, will be his involvement in politics. He then showed up in politics. He was part of the founding fathers of the AMPP, the All Nigeria People's Congress, the CPC, and then eventually he was part of the coalition, the All Progressives Congress, that branded him as a military ruler turned Democrat. And then, of course, he was Nigerian president between 2015 and 2019, and also 2019 to 2023, leading the APC. Now, that's very fresh in people's memory, and many will also remember him with regard to Twitter ban, with the restriction of the civic space. The third part of his legacy that I think many will remember will have to be, you know, his involvement also in the politics of Nigeria. Well, if we have to talk about General Buhari, we have to be comprehensive. Now, so the third part will be how he transformed from being a soldier to being a civilian leader and a Democrat. And in that regard also, opinion will be mixed, because we have seen the statement by Sowore. Sowore has nothing to say nicely about him. There will be people like that. But there are also people like Garuba Shehu, who will say nice things. People like John Padden, who wrote the autobiography of Buhari. People like Femi Adesina, who out of loyalty to his boss has also been out there on the air.
All right, guys, welcome back. And I believe everybody is entitled to his or her opinion. That's what I think, that's what I believe. But if we are moderating, we need to be careful. If a lot of people are watching us, and choose your word very, very well. And also we have Reuben Abati. He also released his own thought concerning this particular issue. But what do you think about Rufai Oseni's statement to the late former President Muhammadu Buhari? All right, guys, you have your opinion. I have my own. Why can't you relate your opinion in the comment section? Let us continue the conversation, and also don't forget to join us here. We bring trending issue concerning politics, news, entertainment, and order. All right, guys, let me get what you have to say, and don't forget to join us. Don't forget to like our content. Don't forget to share it, and let us do this again in another video.